we're going to start with a project overview. So, the game pretty much has a homepage where you can log in and or you can just hit play as a guest, and then you can play a game where you're put in a maze where you're a dot and you're just trying to get out of the maze as soon as possible. And our game has a bunch of things, so we track the times that you take to get out of the mazes, and the rankings, like, oh, did I finish before my friend? Am I number one? And do I have the best time? Do I have the worst time? And you can just track that if you're logged in. And we have a few pages such as the game page, the about page, and the home page. And for the first sprint, we're pretty much like trying to figure out how we're gonna develop everything. So I was the security lead for the team. So I my main focus was to design the database as secure as possible and follow the most secure practices for the database. And that was pretty much what I did. Like I was helping the team to sketch like how we're gonna do the project, like what we're gonna need, and come up with all the items for our project board. And the first item that I worked on was the database schema, where I was trying to think ahead of like everything we're going to need for the project, and just make it as secure as possible since I was a security lead. And I also implemented some tests on the first sprint and added that to the workflow. But I added more in sprint two. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. So this was the database schema that I designed. Like first, I wrote that on a piece of paper, and of course, like following the best practices and everything, primary keys, and I presented that to our group, and they approved it. So I created the schema.prisma for our project, and then started already to use the also created a database on Supabase and everything. And that was or start. And also for the GitHub workflow, I added the tests over there. So far we hadn't had that many tests, but that was also a test that I did on the first sprint. And for sprint two, that's when the real work came in. And I did a lot for the game. Like I implemented the whole game page with the game service and also the UI. And I pretty much like thought about all the logic for the game, and created a maze generation system where pretty much like mazes are generated automatically. So as you create the game, it generates a maze using the depth first search algorithm. And that and you also set up a limit of how many mazes you want to generate. So so far we have 10 mazes, so we just don't have like a bunch of mazes that we can track, like, oh, I finished before my friend or not. So we just set it to 10, so we have 10 mazes automatically generated. And also I helped with the login and the guest support. And also, since I was a testing lead, I helped in a bunch of tests too. I pretty much like for everything that I did, I made tests, and also everything that my teammates were doing. I was like, hey guys, let's implement more tests and everything. And I think that went pretty well. And that's the maze UI. So pretty much you get put into a maze, and then you have to get out. In that situation, you were logged in as a you're not logged in. You're just playing as a guest. I know that because the home button, if you're logged in, it's a dashboard button, which is something that I also implemented, which is pretty much like the buttons like toggle, like if you're logged in or not. And talking a little bit about the UI features. So the game page UI, we got also the about page. We have a dynamic home page where if you're logged in, you're gonna see a page. If you're not logged in, you're gonna see another page, and the buttons they all toggle depending if you're logged in or not. So like here is the home page if you're not logged in, and then this is the home page if you're logged in. And I worked a lot on that to pretty much understand how to play with the UI and everything, depending on if you logged in or not. And that was something I did on the second sprint. And then also the about page, which we already had, but it wasn't ready. So I pretty much like made it look a little bit better. And also the dashboard and play button, like if you're not logged in, they say home, and play as a guest. But now in this case, you're logged in, so it says dashboard and play, and that was something I did on sprint two, and also like I said, writing tests for everything. I was the testing lead for sprint two, so I spent a lot of time with the tests on that sprint. And talking to the bottom of the tests, we're using V test, and of course you can run all the tests using npm tests. And we also have that on the workflow, so pretty much all the tests run on every single commit or push. And that was pretty good because we can run the test over there, and then if you do a pull request, if you just like submit a commit, it just runs it automatically, and then it tells us if it passed the test or not, so we can make sure that the website's working. And talking a little bit about the tools that we use, so GitHub Actions, Prisma, Vittest, npm test, and of course we follow the project board. And we've been using Visual Studio, and JavaScript for our programming language. And yeah, that's a little bit on the tools. And this is a little bit on the project board. Those are some items that I picked up. I am filtering just for my items. And I did the gas play, the player movement controls, like that's in done. There's a bunch more in done that I didn't that I cut in there. But like right now I'm working on the results screen, and also the maze creation, which a player, if he's logged in, he should be able to create his own maze. And you can also see my commits in there and all the tests that ran. You can see one on one there, the test passed. And also, as you can see, we're doing everything in pull requests. So there were a few commits over there that we were together in a call. And the update readme was pretty much just a small thing that I did, so I didn't create a pull request. But we were doing pretty much on all the work in new branches, and we never commit anything to the main page. We pretty much do a pull request, and then we review and accept or not accept. And for the self assessment, I would say I contributed pretty well for the team on the technical things. Also, um, going to the meetings, being very active, suggesting things, and following my role too. Like the security lead, I was always paying attention to how to make the database and everything as secure as possible with the IDs and everything. And also when I was testing lead, I like enforced like the tests on our team and everything. And I also wrote a bunch of tests, so that's something I've been following. And also I think I met and exceeded expectations in some points, more than others. But I would say pretty much I met all the expectations and exceeded